Welcome back. This is episode 4 of what I'm calling Bible Basics. In the first one, it was just an introduction. The second one, I presented you C.S. Lewis's trilemma and the effect that it had on me when I was in my mid-20s. And then last week, we talked about how the trilemma is not quite as effective for some people today as it was for me because times have changed. And specifically, those times have changed with respect to the understanding of the reliability, the historical reliability of the Bible. So today I want to talk to you in this fourth episode about the Bible's table of contents. That's the place I want to start. So if you have your Bible, that's the audio-visual aid we're going to use for this episode, is the Bible's table of contents. So if you would, please find a Bible and open it up to the table of contents. I've got one opened right here to the table of contents I'm going to read. And depending on the kind of Bible it is and who published it and all, it may have some other things on there. Like this one has a foreword, a preface to the translation, principles of translation, stuff like that. And then after it, it's got concordance, book abbreviations, promises from the Bible. And those things we're not going to talk about because those can vary by Bible. What I'm going to talk about is going to be the same in every Bible that you have, every Bible that you can find that goes by the name of Bible today. In fact, we should probably start there with the term Holy Bible. It's not quite as common today to have that label affixed either to the front or the spine of the Bible to say Holy Bible, but in times past it sure was more common. I think one of the reasons it's not as common today is that there are so many translations of the Bible in English. I think over 100 are in print, maybe. It's amazing. And there's different reasons for that. We won't go into that here. I might talk about that on some other video. But people are trying to distinguish, the publishers are trying to distinguish their Bible from every other. So, they'll have the such and such, the Bible for left-handed fishermen or, whatever it happens to be. But the term Holy Bible, what does that mean? And of course, I'm talking about this fits with the table of contents because we're talking about the table of contents for the Bible. The Holy Bible. What's the difference between the Holy Bible and the Bible? Well, most people use those two terms interchangeably. But if you want to be literal about it, Bible means book or books. It comes from ancient times. Greek word, I think, was biblos, and maybe biblia was plural. Don't hold me to those, but you get the idea. And so Bible is a book, and it's books because, obviously it's a book. See, it looks like a book. It's got cover, got pages in the middle. So it's a book, but it's also books because you've got these different books in it. And the books are different sizes. I mean, there's some books in the Bible, not many, maybe 2, 3, 4 at the most, that are like only one page. So, for example, the book of Jude in the New Testament is one page. And I think the book of, I forget which is the longest, but probably Luke or Acts. But the longest book is probably 60, 70, 80, 90 times as big as Jude. So a lot of variation and a lot of things smaller than we would call a book. But if you look at the book altogether, it's roughly 750,000 words, three quarters of a million words. An average nonfiction book being published today is about 50, maybe up to 75,000 words. So you're talking about the Bible is at least as big as, say, 10 to 12 or even 10 to 15 modern nonfiction books in terms of length, in terms of it takes time to read. And of course, probably takes a little longer to read words in the Bible just because it deals with ancient cultures and things that are not familiar to us. Just like if you read history or if you read fiction about a time in the past, in the distant past, it might take longer to read. But that's where the word Bible comes from. So when somebody calls it the Bible, they're saying it's the book, which is fair. The Bible outsells all of the books. It won't. The New York Times won't put it on the front of at the top of their best list of bestsellers, but it sells more books every year than any other book. It's fascinating. There's just Bibles being printed. Wish people read it more, but there's an awful lot of them in print. And of course, the Bible lies at the beginnings, at the headwaters of Western civilization, part of the foundation of it. Jesus Christ and the Bible. In fact, when people say the West today or Western civilization, it's just a secularized way of saying Christendom, because that was its distinguishing mark. That was its source. And lots of other voices involved in that sort of thing. But it is the book. I mean, if any book ever qualified to be called the book, it is the Bible. Now, there's imitators of that. Islam's got the Quran, and Scientology's got Dianetics and whatever. And so lots of religions have picked up on that and gotten a book. But the Bible is the book. Holy means two things. It means clean, and it means not unclean, and it means having to do with God. So the Holy Bible means that it has to do with God. Now, something can be clean and not have to do with God, but if it has to do with God, it's got to be clean. So to call this the Holy Bible is a statement of faith. If I say this is the Holy Bible, then I'm saying that this is not only a book, it's not only the book, it is God's book. Doesn't mean he, wrote it with, through some type of miracle. He used the hands of men to write the different writings that are in it, but you're ascribing it to God. But you can call it just the Bible that's just an objective fact that it's a book. Anyone can look at it. If you say it's the book, like I was a few moments ago, that's a judgment. And some people might say, well, that's giving it too much credit. I think, we should be fair to other religions or other people or whatever. I guess people that are really big on evolution would call Charles Darwin's Origin of the Species the book. But just to say Bible is just to recognize an obvious fact that it is a book and it is a collection of books. And to say holy is to say that it is of God. Now, I believe that it is of God, and therefore I believe it's the Holy Bible. But I didn't initially approach it that way. I approached it as just a book. And it convinced me that it came from God. And so that's the way this whole Bible Basics series is going to work. I'm going to show you how to go to the Bible and how to learn enough to make a decision. I was an agnostic when I first started reading the Bible as an adult. An agnostic just comes from a word meaning not know. Gnosis, Greek word, and then a in front of it negates it. So like we would put un in front of a word to negate its meaning. Comfortable, uncomfortable. Gnosis, knowing. Agnosis would be not knowing. So technically, agnostic just means that a person is saying, I don't know. And that's the way I came to the Bible. I don't know. Now, some people sort of stretch the definition of agnostic to mean more than that. They mean, I don't know and I cannot know. And other people will go even farther and say, I don't know and no one can know. If you say you know, you're wrong, because we can't know. We can't be sure. We can't know anything. So agnostic is a little bit of an elastic word that can be stretched to different dimensions, materially different dimensions. But when I'm using it here, I'm just saying in the sense of I don't know. So you can say, well, I don't know whether the Bible is true or not, or I don't know whether Jesus is the Christ, is the Messiah. I don't know whether Jesus is Lord. I don't even know whether Jesus is of God. Okay, so if you go to the Bible, then what I'm going to encourage you to do is to go to it as I did, was just that it was a book. It was a book, an ancient book. In fact, it's an ancient collection of books. And that period over which the books covered was a pretty lengthy period. We'll get into that next week when we do part 5. But for today, we're going to look at the Holy Bible, but you don't have to say it's holy. You can set that aside until you have read it for yourself, and I'm going to show you how to read it and how to gather the facts and then make a decision about whether you believe that what's in this book is from God or not, whether God speaks or not. I mean, the Bible makes claims that God speaks, that he says things, and it makes claims to have those things in here. So you're going to be able to read this book for yourself, and you're going to be able to decide whether or not you believe that. And if you say, well, I just don't think that could work, well, then you're just not an open-minded person. Like I said before, if someone says, I don't know and no one can know, that's a pretty aggressive form of agnosticism. I don't really think you want to take that attitude. I believe that history plus reason provides the basis for faith. History plus reason provides the basis for faith. And so the Bible will give us the history. You say, well, how do we know whether we can trust it or not? Well, that's what you're going to read it for. History is, there's good history and bad history. There's reliable history and unreliable history. And you'll get a chance to make up your own mind about that. And if you've already made up your mind, that's great. But I think everything I'm saying is just going to strengthen your faith and give you a stronger foundation for believing what you believe. And if that's not the case, if you already know everything that I'm saying, well, then you ought to be doing your own videos, and you ought to be hosting your own website and writing your own books. I commend you. Just do that. Nobody needs me. I'm just trying to help people be able to read the Bible for themselves. And as I say, if you don't need me, that's fine. Go ahead. And more power to you. So, Holy Bible, we didn't get very far, but that's real important to get across. For you, it may just be the Bible at this point. You just want to understand it. You want to be able to read it. And we want to be able to answer the question of, we want to sort of strengthen C.S. Lewis's trilemma, strengthen the logic of it so that it can help people today in the same way that it helped me. So that's it. The Bible's title. It's either the Bible to you or it's the Holy Bible to you. And we'll delve into the table of contents next week. God bless you.